Yeah.
Indeed, it's a special day right here on TVC Breakfast as we take you through the highs and lows of Nigeria's 65 years of independence and, of course, 20-plus years of unbroken democracy. But Ria, this morning, since the flag first went up in 1960, Nigeria's story has been one of big dreams, tough trials and remarkable resilience, from independence to civil war, from dictatorship to democracy, and now the push for economic recovery. Every chapter left its mark. Now, TVC's Ibrahim Shita takes us on a sweeping journey through the gains, the setbacks, and the steady march toward renewal hope.
On October the 1st, 1960, Nigeria gained independence. A new nation was born with great promise.
Fight on, brave boys, fight on, heroes of our fatherland. Pursue the enemy, harass him, destroy the invader.
But soon came turbulence. Coups and the civil war between 1967 and 1970 tested national unity. The triumph, reunification, with the famous words, "No victor, no vanquished." The 1970s brought an oil boom. Money flowed, cities grew, but so did corruption and overdependence on crude. Fast forward to 1993, Nigerians tasted democracy with MKO Abiola's historic win, but the annulment crushed hopes. The struggle later gave us Democracy Day.
Sequel to the resignation of the former head of the interim national government.
The 1990s saw dictatorship under General Sani Abacha, years marked by fear, repression and looting.
This is what God Almighty has ordained for me and for my beloved country.
But May 29th, 1999 changed everything. Olusegun Obasanjo's swearing in returned Nigeria to democracy. This time, democracy endured. The 2000s, a telecom explosion and Nollywood's global rise. Every day, Nigerians reaped new opportunities. Yet, the 2010s brought pain. Boko Haram terrorized communities, displacing millions. Still, resilience shone through in humanitarian responses.
I intend to keep my oath and serve as president to all Nigerians.
In 2015, Muhammadu Buhari rode in on promises of anti-corruption and security. Some gains, but frustrations grew.
The first subsidy is gone. Subsidy can no longer justify an ever increasing cost and the wake of dry resources.
Today, President Bola Tinubu's administration is reshaping the economy. Subsidy removal, currency reforms and big bets on recovery. The pain is real, but the vision is bold. Fiscal stability, private investment and a new energy future. Since 2024, tough monetary policies aim to tame inflation and stabilize the naira. Nigerians watch closely, hopeful this sacrifice leads to renewal. From independence to civil war, dictatorship to democracy, and now bold reforms, Nigeria's story is one of struggle, resilience and relentless hope. The path is tough, but the dream of recovery remains alive.
Indeed, the hopes and dreams of Nigeria stands alive, Ria, even as we mark 65 years of independence as a nation. We've come quite a long way. And even though we've seen a lot of, trials, up and hills, as we've made our journey to today, we should be proud as Nigerians that this country, against international predictions, that especially in 2015, we were going to split we're still here together as one body.
And we're still here, not just here, we're still here standing tall. And when we talk about democracy, in 1993, we know that MK Abiola fought so much for democracy. And I'm happy that we're seeing the dividends of that. I'll take you back to 2015 when a sitting president, Jonathan, lost the election to Buhari. He stepped down peacefully, and we could see democracy being shown there. So for me, I feel like our democracy has gotten far. When it comes to elections, we still have conversations, oh, was it free and fair and all of that. But for democracy, we can see that we're doing well. More can be done. I always say there's room for more. In terms of resilience, this was a beautiful package by Ibrahim, by the way. He spoke about the resilience that we have. I tell people that African spirit that we have, you have to be proud to say you are a Nigerian as well, because you never stop. You just keep going.
Indeed. I think that African spirit is where we need to bring in Dr. Marindoti, who is joining us. He is the convener, Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative. Marindoti, happy 65 Independence to you. I see you are decked up in your green, white, and green. Good morning, my brother. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Ria. Good morning, Nelson. Good to be with you here this morning. Happy 65th, anniversary, independence anniversary to Nigeria. I hope we can go to the point of not being independence, in the future. But right now, thank you. Happy anniversary to all of us.
Thank you, Marin. And that's a good place to begin the conversation, Marindoti. I want us to go back a little bit into history. We've talked about our founding fathers, what they did, and the kind of legacy and leadership they brought to the table up until we gained independence in 1960. If you may, even though I know, Marindoti, you weren't there at the time, but could you give us a little bit of a spice of some of the things we saw from the Tafawa Balewas, from the Awolowas, from the Ziks of this world, and some of the men who even took us into the civil war we saw in this country? What kind of legacy do you think they brought to the table?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nelson. Yes, of course, I wasn't born during that period. And I was so disadvantaged that as I was about to approach the senior secondary school, they canceled history. But thanks to, Wikipedia and all, I've been able to catch up historically. So I might have one a few things to contribute. But, you're very right. Like, our, founding fathers, the Ziks, Awolowas, even the Abat Macaulay before them, and the Olufumi Ransom Kuti, they all played a pivotal role in the, emancipation of, Africa from the clutches of, and Kwame Nkrumah, like you guys mentioned earlier, from the clutches of the Brits. Because we have to understand that during that period was about a few years after the Second World War, and the all of Europe was trying to restructure and all. But upon inception of democracy, there was definitely a lot of gambits here and there. The intention was good by all the leaders. Definitely, the outcome might have not matched what they wanted to do. But we can always credit the intention. Definitely back in the inception, we had regional governments that had regional controls, and those guys were a little bit more schooled, more educated, they were well traveled, so they were running things to a certain degree how it ought to be, even in the Western region, then where, despite the ruckus with Awolowo and Akintola was still a very good administrator, built OAU and all of that. But when we had the first military interregnum in 1966, and then the counter coup that led us to the civil war, a lot of damage was done to the Nigerian economy. If you look at a lot of the things that we are still dealing with right now, those were the vestiges of the maladministration of the military regime at the time. And you can't blame them too. You can blame them, but they were a bunch of young guys who were probably not well educated, not well read. So, they plunged us into a lot of things. I was, you played the video of the president saying subsidy was gone. Subsidy was started, I actually read about it a few years ago by the former military administrator Yakubu Gowon in response to the Yom Kippur War between the Israel and the Arabs because of the first oil shock in 1973. And from that short response to pushing Nigeria from the global effect of the the decision by the Arabs to not pump fuel, which led to rise in oil price, we got into a what's it called, a money plundering scheme of subsidy for decades. If you look at all the old situation with, even electricity that we don't have right now, majority of the structural problems started during that era too, where they started saying they wanted to subsidize electricity, but people in the villages were not getting it, and the rich men were getting it and all. And all the military maladministration led us to a critical point. Ibrahim's, what's it called, was very good. The documentary was very good, but he forgot to mention the Second Republic, which led us to the Buhari administration and this, the structural adjustment that we had to attempt in 1986, which was about 26 years into our history. Because it is a repeat of that we are trying to have right now during this President Tinubu's regime, and there is a bit of a correlation that I hope we'll be able to talk about during this.
Mr. Marindoti, it's always a pleasure to have you, because I love how passionate you are when you speak. But for me, I like to go through the grassroots questions. We will not deny the fact that the renewed hope is doing well. We see a little bit of progress. We see that the economy is stable now, and we're waiting for it to grow. But I want to talk about the normal Nigerian youths that would still say, "Oh, Nigeria is not there yet. Nigeria is not better." The youths that want to jackpot, the youths that always want to demarket Nigeria, because I always speak for the youths. I'm a youth as well, so I like to speak for them. As we celebrate Nigeria today, what are some of the take-homes for our youths? Because at the end of the day, these youths make up the country. And if they are losing hope in Nigeria, it is a problem. We've seen that our president is doing really well to make sure that this renewed hope, we feel the hope again. He said a lot of people should come back home. Nigeria is getting better. In terms of security, Nigeria is getting better. In terms of food security, Nigeria is getting better. But some of these youths are very adamant. They go out, they demarket Nigeria, and they still feel like, you cannot make it in Nigeria. Let's speak to these youths this morning.
Thank you very much. First thing first, I am a Nigerian that jackpot, right? So it's very hypocritical.
Are you ever coming back?
To tell a Nigerian. I plan on coming back when the conditions are right, whereby I can sustain my life. That's what every Nigerian wants. That's why we invest back.
What conditions are you waiting for? Nigeria is getting better.
Nigeria is getting better, but not enough to pay my rents right now. So I have to, work to a certain point of view. But you're very right when we talk about, the issue of the youth and the fact that they are definitely, disenchanted with the country and disillusioned. But one thing that I have learned from being a medical doctor is that when your patient is telling you they have a headache, don't tell them they don't have a headache. Right? You have to work with them. So definitely there are some serious pains, salient pains that they are feeling that we cannot ignore. Yes, the renewed hope agenda is working. The president's structural reforms, they are working. But these are things that are working on paper and in the real, macro economy. But you don't care about the price of the dollar or the price of fuel or the amount of foreign exchange that we have. What you are caring about is the food on your table, the hospital, the roads, which will take time.
So,
right? The one thing that I have been seeing.
Marin, if you just allow me button here. You mentioned that there's some things that needs to be in place before your likes would return to the country. And you also agree that the renewed hope agenda is working. So let's talk in between those lines. What are the kinds of things would you like to see in place so that the theme of this year, all hands on deck, and the president calling Nigerians like yourself who've left the country to return back home? What do we need to put in place as we're 65 now?
We need to restructure a lot of things. We need to restructure our system of government, because we cannot build a skyscraper on a quicksand. It will sink, right? So we need to make some structural, reforms and some, economic reforms that the president has started that, I feel like he needs to do more. Whereby, so that the country can start to grow, so that people can bring in their money into the country and know that the rules are the same for Dangote and themselves or anybody else, and then they can compete, and then we can bring about prosperity. The albatross on our foreign exchange or on our Commonwealth, which was the subsidy on both dollar and fuel, the president has stopped it, right? But there is still a big load that Nigerians are carrying, which is the unfavorable, duties. And I know the president has tried significantly with, the tax reform thing, but we still have significant duties that we have placed on a lot of essential commodities that are putting Nigerians under serious pain. for example, if I want to say I want to start the transportation problem, if I want to start a transportation company right now, I want to bring in 100 buses to my beloved Ondo State and be able to transport people for cheap. We don't have a system whereby the the governments, the local governments can control it and maybe give us subsidy to make the cost of running it a little bit cheaper. Yeah. But the most important thing is that the Nigerian government will collect import duty of like 70% from me. A luxurious bus will cost about maybe $100,000. So instead of me to be able to buy multiple buses, I will not be able to buy as much, right? So that will even make me not want to come and invest in that business. And I will have to also deal with trade unions and all those things. So we need to put serious structural reforms, and these things don't necessarily come from the president. We need people in the green and the red chamber to have more than bones above their shoulder. They need to be more informed about the problems of Nigeria and legislate us out of our economic problems. It was the president that said that if the smart people don't come to government, that you are going to live under the laws made by fools. That was what he said in an interview that I watched. So we need people who are intellectual to get into those places and write laws that will settle things and make people to be able to come.
But let me get in here. You said we need people, and at the end of the day, if those people jackpot, how do we get them? And talking about you, I'm sure you'll still come back home, because home is home. You cannot live there for the rest of your life. This is home. This is where you get the hot amala to eat, the correct one, so you will still come back home. But let's talk about something that you said. You said we see most of the reforms on paper, and we do not get to see them physically. But I tell you that most times it's because we already have a bad perception about Nigeria. And this is not me saying that Nigeria is perfect. But when there is good news, we do not highlight the good news. We've seen the roads that have come, the infrastructure. But we always think that because there's no food on the table right now, nothing is happening. But at the end of the day, we forget that even for an economy, it doesn't just grow fast like that. It doesn't just grow overnight. It takes time. So sometimes I feel like as Nigerians, we are very big on demarketing, the good things that we do. Mr. Marindoti, a lot of good things have happened that we do not talk about, but we focus more on the negativity. That's why you feel like it's so negative in Nigeria.
And yes, and you're very right. And like I said, as a doctor, if you come to my hospital and I have done a surgery and I know that I have done the big work, but you are still in pain, I will not tell you that, don't you know that I have done all of this? I will keep addressing your pain. It's about leveling with the people. It's about communication. It's about coming down to their level and explaining the things to them, and they know that you are responsive to them. That is how you are going to get them to start appreciating what you have done. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And sometimes they don't even appreciate it until the deed has been done. So it is a part of the government. The one thing about the youth that I am really worried about is the fact that they act as if they are not a partaker, they are not a part of the government. They also select the people. The governments that they are complaining about don't come from heaven. They come from one amongst us. A lot of them that are complaining, when they get power, it's not like they would have done anything better. There is a need for patriotism and for accountability on what you do. Like I have said this thing on this program before, that Nigerians, we make our lives more difficult than the government does. If the government is giving you 20% of your problem, the 80% are your fellow Nigerians, your mechanic that did not do your work, your bricklayer that collected your money, your tailor that disappointed you on your wedding day. Those are the things that make your life terrible. So if we are not kind, if we don't treat ourselves like decent human beings with decency and respect and love, how do we expect our lives to be better? We are only a reflection of our environment. So it's what you project that you are going to see. Exactly. So we, the Nigerian youths, we need to take accountability for our own role. The only one thing that I've been seeing on social media that I'm worried about is the what's it called, the aggrandizement or the fascination with military rule, because a lot of Nigerian youths that I have been interacting with and I've been watching their posts are trying to paint a despot like Abacha, like like there was something good about him. I was very mentally aware in the 90s, and I could remember that even the day he died, we could not even say it in our house. But they will look at Traore in Burkina Faso and he will come out with all his propaganda, and then they will believe it. That is one thing that I am worried about.
So, Marindoti, let's talk a little bit then about reorientation of our values as a people. Because if the kinds of leaders we have are coming from us, and you're saying that us sometimes can be a problem to ourselves, where then should we begin the restructuring? Is it of the mind or of the systems?
Yeah, it is of the mind and definitely the system. It has to go pari passu, right? Like if you take your child to a school here in the United States, from the school, the teacher is kind to them. They are teaching them kindness. They are showing them how to be, to be nice, to share with one another. They play games. They have this sense of communal living. So those are things that, little by little go with you. One of the reasons I believe I am a little bit as charitable as I am is because when I was younger, my mother would take me to a Agority, like the motherless babies home, and I'll go out by myself, give out my own clothes. So that was a habit that I cultivated just from home. And we also need to also understand that some people are also growing in penury, and we in the diaspora and the government and everything need to find a way of forming like a social, form of safety net for them, so that children don't go hungry and no. And I've been talking about hunger for a very long time because those are some of the things that lead to the terrible childhood that will create the terrorists and the bandits and the what's God of tomorrow if we are not saving them from that level. So those are the reforms that are very insidious, and that is why when everybody tries to complain or blame President Tinubu, I was going to say that if I'm to talk about the history of Nigeria in the last 65 years, that I would say we are like the fella song parambulator. In the last 65 years, we've been parambulating and we are still in the same place. But people who support President Tinubu might see that as an affront. Am I a sellout? Why people who support President Obasanjo, who obviously does not support him, would think that's the good thing. But President Tinubu has only ruled for 2 out of those 65 years, whereas President Obasanjo ruled for almost 12 years. So who should carry majority of the
Dr. Marindoti,
so we have to be circumspect.
We would come back to have that because that's a very good point. We need to bring 2 years compared to 16 and more years. We cannot compare. But Ria, we have one of our correspondents, Aminat, who is on the street to bring us what Nigerians are saying. While the flags are flying and the anthem is being sung, the real question is, how are Nigerians themselves responding and how do they feel about the journey so far? This morning on TVC Breakfast, we're taking a look as we go on the streets of Lagos to hear directly from Nigerians about what the independence means to them, the progress we've made as a country, and the hope we still hold for the future. Right down over to Aminat.
Like you said, we are live here on the street of Lagos to hear directly from the people of Nigeria to understand what Independence Day means to them and how they celebrate as Nigerians, from the food to the fashion, the culture to the courage.
I'm happy that as a nation we have attained this height, most especially democratically. We have had successful government handing over to other governments. That's a big success for us as a nation.
I can be given birth to in any place in the world, but I actually appreciate my culture and also the fact that I can see life from a positive point of view. The fact that I'm in Nigeria and I can see the jokes, like you can never be caught unfresh in Nigeria.
Today it's a great day for Nigeria. All of us need to be happy because today it's not easy to be free.
We should stop the mentality of we saying the government are the problem of our society.
I want a better Nigeria where you don't have to depend on any connection, or maybe you need to know somebody up there before you can be something great in life.
Independence Day actually used to be a day where we celebrate the sacrifice that our founding fathers made, but I don't know what is actually going on now. You hardly see people putting on flag, celebrating Nigeria. So I think to me that is there's a kind of a disconnection between our leaders and the masses.
The independence should not be regretted in terms of number of years, but it should be a moment of reflection for each and every one of us. What are we contributing to make Nigeria a great country?
When there is life, there is hope and there is opportunity to explore. And if the government can do better for the youth, investing in creativity rather than going outside the country to get more creative, when we have mastermind and creative mind here in the country, then I think that way the government can do better for the youth.
It's been amazing being in Nigeria because there's no place like home, and besides, the important thing about Nigeria, despite what we go through, the challenges of our times, government input and everything, we still have that courage.
Indeed, Ria, there is no place
Amazing.
like home. And these are young persons, you know, in this country that, Amina, by the way, thank you very much, Amina, for doing that for us.
That was really beautiful. But Nelson,
They are
you know,
speaking
quickly,
about
I just want to
today.
say something. These are young people. These are youths that are speaking about, you know, the fact that there's no place like Nigeria. And I'm sure Mr. Marindoti is still with us. It's just beautiful to see that Nigerian youths are now taking center stage. I feel like before this was not it, but they are now getting more involved, you know, in the government. One of the ladies said something that I really held. She said, we cannot blame the government for everything. And I say this thing, we as citizens need to do something as
Absolutely.
well. Mr. Marindoti, whenever I speak like this, they say, oh, why don't you highlight the bad sides? But I say, when we look at positivity, positivity will come our way more.
Yeah.
You're very right. We should definitely look very importantly at the good things that are around us and how we can be positive and, you know, move that nation forward from in the little things that we do. Really, it is those little things that count. You know, the biggest albatross on our economy has been lifted. I fear for, you know, 2 years' time, because, you know, populism is always something that is always very seductive to the people. But if we can stay the course for a very long time, it takes time for you to build infrastructure. It takes time for you to train doctors. It takes time for you to, you know, do a lot of things. But we need to be able to communicate effectively to the youth to let them see their role in this, you know, new trajectory that we are getting on, and, you know, educate them more and just be more attentive. Don't talk down on them, like that lady said, like you rightly said, we cannot blame the government for all our problems, but that does not mean that the government should not take responsibility for some things that they can take, that they should take responsibility for. You know, we still saw the story of the, sadly, of the, you know, the reporter that passed away in Abuja and all of that, and some of the things that they said about the structures. We need to see action. We need the reforms that will prevent that from happening again. Because a lot of the stories that I've heard are things that I experienced when I was in the system that, you know, everybody has complained about, but we are not seeing actions, we are not seeing reforms, we are not seeing the structural things that we need to do. So it has to be, everybody has to understand that we are all responsible. It is our own father's house. There's nothing we can do about it.
And also, those of you in diaspora as well, what are you doing? The Nigerians we have in diaspora, what input are you putting? Because you spoke about it, you know, we have a lot of Nigerians in diaspora. Do you just go there and forget about Nigeria? And Mr. Marindoti, this is directly to you as well. What are you doing for the betterment of Nigeria? Because you are a Nigerian.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I have been contributing for the past how many years. It's almost 1 a.m. where I am right now, and I'm trying to contribute. I always say this, that, you know, I'm a medical doctor. My father has the hospital. He sent me to medical school so that I can continue his legacy, right? But if you call him right now and tell him that I'm coming to come and take over from him, he will swear for you. Because why? In the last 5 years, I have sent more resources to Nigeria than I would have made in 35 years. So when a lot of people, you know, there was time they were talking about doctors leaving and all, we are also contributing all this stabilization of the forex that you are talking about. It is Nigerians in diaspora that are really, you know, doing the foreign direct investment that we are not taking back. We are the ones sending money to our, you know, relatives. So those are the little things that we are doing right now based on, you know, definitely our resources. But if the government shows us, because I have a lot of Nigerian friends that have invested and have regretted it. You want to build a house just for yourself. You send money to your uncle or anybody, and then they use that money to build their house. And the local government authority, your state government, anybody does not take them, put them in jail. That is fraud. And we are not even defending the diaspora investments. So those are some of the things that have made a lot of Nigerians pull back. That's why I keep talking about structural reforms, things that you don't need to go. You know, the president went to Dallas, I think in 2023, and said that Nigeria is ready for business. If anybody is asking you for bribe, come and call him. Well, I'm like, that means that the president assumes that everybody has access to him. Because if he does not believe that who have easy access to him, then he should think about a system that it will be that you don't need to see the president. If someone is asking you for bribe for anything, the system is going to carry them and prosecute them, and, you know, if they are found guilty, put them away, and that will serve as deterrence.
That's a good place to also go to. And which makes me wonder, because most of the persons who have the privilege of being in our political system in this country are also people who are exposed socially around the world, like yourself now. But at the end of the day, you have the privilege of being either a minister, a senator, or whatever it is in government. Why is it hard to sometimes see the reflection of that kind of exposure brought in to refine and reform our own structures so that what you see in the United States or in the UK and other developed countries can be also seen here? Why is it hard to see that?
Yeah, I will explain it to you this way, right? When I was in medical school through practice, I have assisted a lot of brain surgery. I saw it, but I didn't know how to do it, right? So that is why when a lot of people say that Nigerian politicians go abroad, they don't fix our hospitals, that is because we assume that our politicians know the solution to our problem. A lot of them don't know. A lot of them just sadly don't know. And that is it. And that is why you see that sometimes when they propose solutions to some problems, you wonder the amount of brain power that went into the designing of those solutions. And a lot of our problem, people don't talk about the green and the red chamber or our state house of assemblies. Nobody focuses on them, and they are the real governments. They are the real government. They make laws. They control the spending of the money. They are the people that need to be making laws that will be directing us. This tax reform thing that the president brought should have been a legislative bill that was initiated by legislators who have seen the problem. We can see the problem going on in Nigeria with Dangote and Pengas right now. The legislators have a major role to play in setting the parameters for everybody to play so that anybody knows what they are playing in. If you want to go and play soccer, you know how to score the goal. So there is no shifting of goalposts because someone has set the parameters there. So these are the problems that we have, whereby we think our legislators. That is why, for me, I am not even interested in politics. I am interested in charity because I want to develop the average Nigerian mind so that the average Nigerian mind will choose a better leader that will fix the problem. Because based on our level of education and exposure, we might not make good choices, especially in those places that I'm talking about, those green and red chamber in Nigeria.
So this is an education problem, you're saying, Marindoti?
Yes, we are not enlightened. We don't know a lot of. It was a very good report on your channel where during an election, a woman was asked the question and he said, "Atibo." The woman actually thought that was the routine. It was viral all over social media. People don't understand the fact that they are selling away their future. They cannot imagine it. How can I tell you that you should have good roads? How can I tell you that Lagos to Abuja should not be more than 3 hours, 4 hours drive, maybe 4.5 max? Because you have never experienced it, right? So we need to enlighten our minds.
Exactly. And just coming to you here, a lot of times I've said it on TV, to vote is your duty and your right. So if you collect anything for it, you should know better, because as the media, we say it a lot. But I want to speak about, the fact that we spoke about leaders getting into power. Mr. Marindoti, we won't lie that some people are very great, but when they get into power, it seems like there's something about power. They get into power and they forget the people that, put them there, or the promises that they made to those people. So I want us to quickly talk about that. And also, for a person like you, we've seen the growth of Nigeria. We've seen the economy being stable. Now we're waiting for it to grow. Where do you see Nigeria in 10, 20 years? But first, let's talk about what power does. We see an upright person, he gets into power, and the next thing he forgets.
Yeah, power, they say power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So definitely power intoxicates. It's like when you drink beer, right? When you drink, when you start drinking, the good part comes first, right? So that's why when they get to the office, they will first start acting as if they are doing good. But as you continue drinking, you will start misbehaving. So that is what power does. And I will also want to use this opportunity to criticize my own idol, President Bola Tinubu, who, because he was an advocate for restructuring and he's been in office for 3 years right now, they are just taking baby steps. I thought he would have done it very fast. So that is also,
But the baby steps also count. At the end of the day, it's better to take baby steps than take no steps. So what do you think? Right. And I don't want to call them baby steps, Mr. Marindoti, because we've seen some very big reforms.
Yes. No, I'm talking about the restructuring of government specifically, and the policing and the restructuring of everything. But definitely, he's still doing it. It is way better than, what you are talking about. But the second part of your question, if you can quickly remind me, I'm trying to remember.
I'm asking, where do you see, with everything happening, with all the reforms we see happening, where do you see Nigeria in 10, 20 years? Because we've spoken about how resilient we are. So in 10, 20 years, what are you looking for Nigeria to be like?
It will be conditioned on one thing: continuation of this reform. Because I am very wary that, you know, if we don't continue this reform beyond 2027, we are going to fall back into a place where in 30 years' time, maybe it is my own generation in my own 60s and 70s that will be trying to bring it back again. You know, this reform, like I was saying, they tried to do it with SAP in 1986, right? They did not touch fuel subsidy then. They unified the exchange rates and they tried to make trade adjustments. But, you know, the lobbying, they kept on bringing back, there was policy somersault and everything. Now everybody blamed SAP for the end of the textile industry, whereas Nigeria still did not have electricity during that period. Those textile industries were protected with tariff, and they even put tariff on their inputs, which is like the dye and everything, which was what killed the textile industry, but they blame SAP. A lot of Nigerians right now are blaming President Tinubu's renewed hope agenda and reform for their hardship, but they are failing to see the way by which he is saving the country. So we need to continue this reform beyond 2027, because I am pretty sure by next year when the campaign starts, a lot of the opponents will be saying they want to reverse things. And when you reverse, you are now going to be giving your money away to the rich men who were the ones taking it before. If we can continue this reform beyond 2027, Nigeria will emerge from, we are very talented. We go everywhere in the world. We are leading, we are smart, we are intelligent, we are hardworking. Nigerians are abroad, are ready to come back. But we need to continue the reform, and we need to reform our trade. We cannot be having a country where UNICEF said 1,200 children are dying a day, and we are putting import duty on rice, on maize, on things that they can eat. So we need to do a lot of all these reforms so that we are bringing succor to the people. By floating our exchange rate, we have protected our market enough. Let them compete with the global standard, because our labor and our land is cheap. Our producers can compete on a global level. We don't need to protect them. You cannot start a class and give your child 50% of the mark before the end of the term. You might have ensured that it will not fail, but you have guaranteed its failure.
Indeed.
So you need to allow your child to start on a level playing field. Those are the things that we need to do so that we can continue the reform beyond 2027.
Talking about continuing the reforms, let's talk about this issue of Dangote and Pengassin. What do we need to do as a country at this juncture where we still, have uncompletely functional refineries, and the Dangote refinery is standing tall now, and we're seeing some of this bottleneck union issues building mountains around the Dangote refinery? If this persists, how do we then solve the problem of fuel, availability, and cost, which in turn affects our export and the shoring up of the naira to compete with the dollar?
Thank you very much. I won't say I'm the biggest fan of Dangote as a person, because, me too, I've been looking for my own kuli monopoly. I don't know if you can remember.
Around it, right?
I want to ask you a question, Nelson, Ria. You guys can decide not to come to work tomorrow. TVC will not come and drag you from your house.
But we wouldn't do that.
On your right. But you won't do that because you want to make your money, right? You want to earn your salary. But you have the right.
And we want to inform Nigerians, most importantly.
And you want to inform Nigerians and make money too, so that you can take care of your family.
It's not about the money, it's about the job. It's the love for the job.
It's about the job, okay. But if you have the right to leave at will, then your employer should also have the right to fire you at will. That does not mean I support the firing of 800 Nigerian workers, because we have to understand that these Nupen Pengasson people have already created a monopoly. It's not like it is like the Satan and Lucifer fighting, in my own opinion. That is why the people in the Green Chamber need to come and legislate. Because if you look at it, these people are trying to sabotage. I mean, the judge said what I eat should not make you poo-poo, right? So how is trade union Congress chairman, who is not an employee of Dangote, why is he striking against Dangote? I have said it on this program before, that all these labor people, Congress, need to be disbanded. They were created by Muritala Mohammed, Decree 24 or whatever, to suppress labor in the first place so that they can control them. Everybody, TVC employees should be able to unionize and fight their employer. Not that if TVC is fighting them, Arise and every other television is fighting them. So those are things that need to be known. But we also must not lose sight of the fact that Dangote is like the best student in class that still likes to bring out his book, his textbook during exam to copy. You get, he has a tendency to want to monopolized. But that is not his fault. He has a fiduciary responsibility to his bottom line. It is the duty of the legislators, of the regulators, to ensure you cannot have a refinery selling directly to the filling station. Just think about the 45 million liters of oil that we are using. That will take about 1,500 tanks to fill for a day. And we have about 1,440 minutes in a day. So that means every minute, one truck is leaving that refinery into Lagos to be going all over Nigeria. So those things are things that we cannot allow. We have to have different players in different levels, and we cannot ban importation. But Dangote should be able to compete and out-compete his competition. These Nupen and Penderson are putting a lot of dead weight on the system, and they all need to be legislated out. Legislated out.
Exactly, but
you can
Mr. Marindoti, when we talk about our refineries, it's so sad. We hear a lot of monies will go into it, and at the end of the day, there's no accountability. It's really sad. I want to speak on the fact that as we celebrate, 65, are we looking at other sectors? Because it's like we are just on oil. We forget there's agriculture. There's so many other things, but we really, really put our mind on that oil. Do you think it's time for us to diversify?
Yeah, we need to diversify, and I think it was Margaret Thatcher that said that the wealth of a nation is based on the strength of its people. We have a country like UK, 80 million, giving Nigeria 200 million aid. The difference is because the people in UK are educated, so they have the skill. It is a man. If you divide all our oil reserve by every Nigerian, maybe everybody will get maybe $1,000 for the oil, and that is the end of the oil. But when we learn to teach someone, we need to invest in our education, in our people. The people are the gold mine of Nigeria, the 200 million people that we have. If we cannot be allowing children to go uneducated in the north or in any part of the country. We cannot allow children go through school and they still cannot read ABC by the time they are getting to SS3. We need to invest in our people. The people are the gold mine. The fuel, diamond, cobalt, whatever, they are just resources that we should be using to invest in our people so that Nigeria can be like Indonesia and we can be strong. Nigeria should be the country controlling the whole of Africa. All this war in the Congo, DRC and everything, we should be telling them we are building infrastructure across Africa. China should not become and doing what Nigeria should be doing for Africa.
Exactly.
So we need to invest in our people.
But just a follow-up, we cannot have this conversation without talking about insecurity in Nigeria. Oftentimes we've woken up to a lot of sad news. You wake up and it's one too many. You see, these people have been killed, these people have been killed. And at the end of the day, we see that bandits have now gotten what's the word I'll use? They've had this authority to come out and now talk, if you kill 10, 20 will come out and all of that. Talking about insecurity in Nigeria, where are we now? And what are the things you think we can do to make it better for Nigeria to be peaceful?
Yeah, thank you very much. I did actually go back because I was just thinking in my own research to the history of the very first notorious criminal that was known in Nigeria. The first notorious criminal was like in 1973, 70 something, I've forgotten his name. When the regions had their policies, they were controlling their environments. You know your neighbor, you know your neck of the wood. If we don't restructure, think about pipeline vandalism. If the local governments control their region, if there is a vandalism in your local government, we know who to come and take. You will not want it to happen, right? But when you have one central person in Abuja to be calling all the shots, Betongo cannot do everything. He is just one man in Abuja. They need to decentralize. If we don't decentralize, we are going to overwhelm our security forces. And not the type that we are doing whereby we put a bunch of ragtag, uneducated, ill-trained people and say we have this one or that one. Properly educated, properly equipped. That is part of why the restructuring is very, very essential that I criticize the president for.
And do you think we should continue having talks with bandits? Because right about now, sometimes they say they want to have conversations with these bandits to, settle amicably or whatsoever they call it. It's not something I believe in. But do you think it's something that we should continue or stop?
Not at all. It is an incentive for them to keep on going. That is why we've seen different, even in the South. The what's called bunkers, did they stop being violent? When a lot of them were taken to Igbinedion, my friends were in Igbinedion, were talking about the way those guys were killing people on there. But if we have security, good security, these guys would have been picked up for doing one thing, maybe beating one person up or something, before they even get to doing the big what's it called, crime. A lot of criminals in America have been picked up for just petty crime, and then they'll discover they were the ones that did something big. So that is why we cannot keep on negotiating with them.
Dr. Marindoti, before we let you off this morning, Nigeria was 65 years. In few seconds, talk to us. What is the prospect as we look forward to more years?
Well, as we look forward to more years, we have no choice but to have a positive. I mean, what is the essence of living if you are not all food for tomorrow, right? Nothing promises you tomorrow, but you have to go into tomorrow with a promise, with a belief, with that can-do spirit, with the belief that you can change your life. We need to take responsibility. Look less on the government, look more into you. What can you do to contribute to your country and better your lot? It was JFK that said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
That's a fine place we need to go this morning. We will go on a break now and later link up with the Nigerian Television Authority for the President's nationwide Independence Day broadcast. Stay with us. It's a special day right here on TVC Breakfast.